I went on a retreat, a bit of a Buddhist retreat. Kind of normal. So where did I go? Well, I went a week or two ago, and the retreat was for a week in length. That was going to be 7 days of intensive practice and hours of chanting each day, plus a travel day at each end of the trip. The travel days themselves were going to be hard enough, what with 2 car journeys, 5 train journeys and a flight in each direction. Participants were expected to be intermediate Nyingma practitioners. So there is a little feather in my cap, isn't it? Officially an intermediate practitioner. Anyway, the day before I left, a good friend asked me why I was going. Sensible question. And I have to admit that my answer was pretty much useless. Something about being on the path to get enlightened. Well, duh. So obviously I needed to think about it. Officially, of course, everything we do as Buddhists is intended to advance us on the path to getting enlightened for the sake of all sentient beings. And then? That is great, but it doesn't say very much, does it? What about now? What are we going to do today? What are we going to do tomorrow? So I had to ask myself why this particular treat had caught my imagination. And as soon as I began to do that, the answer was clear. The hook, the attraction, was the particular deity whose practices were going to be performed and studied. That's a much better answer, but it's one that perhaps doesn't say so much to many people at all, because whatever is a deity in the context of Buddhism? Buddhism is widely regarded, and I think correctly, as a non-theistic religion. But on the other hand, Vajrayana Buddhism is overflowing with a riot of deities, some of them peaceful, some of them frightening, some angry, some have biologically impossible numbers of faces, arms and legs. Some are male, some are female, at least one is in between. Some wear gorgeous jewellery, some wear necklaces of skulls. The colours of the deity make the contents of a packet of M&Ms sometimes look quite sober. The point of difference that we try to express with this word, non-theistic, is that these are not deities who create the world, they are not personages who rule over us, and they are not people who make decisions about our fate. They emerge spontaneously from, wait for it, the ground of the Buddha mind or the enlightened mind, as active expressions of its compassion. That is, of course, also our own mind. They provide a path, a way to cut through our ordinary conception of things and realize the enlightened nature of everything that appears. The varieties of the qualities of these deities, some thought of as existing on a high level, some on a low level, some concerned very purely and entirely with enlightenment, some much more concerned with day-to-day events. The variety does mean that some of them might indeed be able to help us, or even, I suppose, if things go wrong, create obstacles on the path or obstacles in our lives. But then again, so can your friend, your enemy, your colleagues, your family. If they can help or hinder, then why shouldn't a so-called deity be able to do that? Another question is, why are there so many of these deities? Because, the answer goes, kind of obviously, there are so many different types of people. Some of us are deeply moved by the sweet, kind peacefulness of Chenrezig, or Tara, or of the Virgin Mary for that matter, not that she is a Buddhist deity, of course. Some have much more connection to what we might think of as a masculine strength. The deity at the center of my retreat is female, very female, but at the same time extremely fierce. She sits at the center of a well-known cycle, that is to say, a group of coherent practices in the Nyingma tradition. I had been fortunate enough to be introduced to her practices quite a few years ago in Australia, as it happens, and have included some of her practices in my regular routine. The thing that drew me to this particular retreat was the chance to engage more broadly with some of her various practices and to then be able to include them in my regular system of practices. And that was achieved. So thank you very much to the people who organized it and to the Lama who taught. These days, the word retreat has become broadened out a long way, like so many words do, and now it seems to mean more or less any quiet little holiday. In fact, to check this thought out, I had a look at Google, which doesn't, of course, always give you accurate information, although it can. You have to be careful and you have to look and think. But what it does do reliably is give us the general thinking of general people in a general sort of way. And it told me that the word retreat conjures up thoughts of a luxurious spa in the countryside. That wasn't the kind of thing that I was going through. Often as not, a retreat will feature suggestions of New Age thinking, or perhaps of mindfulness, which has, for one reason or another, now come to be seen as a Buddhist exercise par excellence. Somewhat exaggerated, this view, but that's what's happened. Well, I don't want to knock those retreats. They're probably very nice and may even be good for people, and that means, by definition, they are a good thing. And why am I telling you this? I hope that it will make it easier for you to understand what might be happening when you hear of people going on a Buddhist retreat. Leaving aside the possibility that it's some New Age event, one of those that adopts a Buddhist label for the reflected kudos that still comes with the name. In the Tibetan Buddhist context, it can very well mean, as it did in this case, doing a lot of chanting, a lot of mantra recitation, a lot of visualization, the preparation of all sorts of offerings, particularly food and drink on the physical level, although we will be imagining and visualizing an awful lot more. And the result should be a greater familiarity both with the formal aspects of practices associated with the deity, and hopefully, therefore, a greater ability to perceive anything and everything as the spontaneous play of the enlightened mind. Okay, that does sound a bit grand, and I'm quite sure it doesn't answer every question that my friend might have, but I do hope that it's a bit less blah 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 of an answer than the one I had before I went. So that's it. Best wishes to you all. And finally, of course, bye.